Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. For the last few days, we have been hearing, watching, discussing quite disconcerting events. We have seen how the Khalistani Sikh separatist movement is gaining steam in Australia and multiple Hindu temples have been vandalized there. Canada, the same thing is happening. And all these actions have been attributed very rightly to the Sikh separatists who want to separate from India, but they are not Indians. They are Australians, they are Canadians, they are the British citizens. They have renounced the Indian citizenship, and yet it is they who want to divide India. As a result, thereof, when your temples are vandalized, as Macaulay wrote, for the honor of our temples and the gods, the heartburn would automatically be there in the Hindus. And it's coming to light that the Hindu-Sikh divide is widening. And that's a nightmare. But is it really there at the root level? If I look at the way things are happening, in a span of 3 weeks, 3 Hindu temples vandalized in Australia. On January 12th, the Swaminarayan Mandir in Mellow, January 16th, the historic Shiva Vishnu temple in Victoria, January 23, ISKCON temple in Melbourne. Interestingly, simultaneously, Swaminarayan Mandir, Lakshminarayan Mandir, and a couple of other temples in Canada have been vandalized. And not only that, the defacement saw slogans on the walls, and the slogans were Khalistan Zindabad, long live Khalistan, which is a rallying, a cry in support of Khalistan, and Hindustan Murdabad, death to India. Now, if you look at it etymologically, Khalistan and Pakistan mean the same thing. Both literally mean the land of the pure, as if all others are impure lands. Anyway, and the Khalistani movement is a part of the separate agenda to create an independent homeland of Sikhs by establishing a sovereign state which would not be viable economically and would fall a prey to Pakistan, because Pakistan is posing to be friend of Khalistanis, but traditionally they have been enemies of Khalistan. They are aware that the Mughal Empire suffered primarily from 2 forces. One was Marathas in west, and the other was Sikhs in the north, and they have not forgotten it. I recollect when President Musharraf invited me as a state guest, there was quite a hue and cry by lot of Muslims here, and then some of them were saying, no, that's a good action. But various referendums to secede Punjab have been held in London, another in Canada, and none of them bore any binding results. On January 26, the High Commission of India released a strongly worded statement to test the vandalism, condemning it, the 3 temples in Melbourne, and then but then, does that matter? The fact is that the pro-Khalistani elements are stepping up their activities, and they are actively aided and abetted by proscribed terrorist organizations, Sikhs for Justice, and are inimical agencies from outside these countries. They have been evident. In Canada, the situation is still worse, because the leader of one of the 3 national parties is inclined towards Khalistan. His brother-in-law is one of the major office bearers and maybe the legal advisor. But then, I'm not concerned with that. Following the Gauri Shankar Mandir and anti-India graffiti in Canada, it has been seen that now, even in India, there is a resentment. The Consul General of India in Toronto published a short statement condemning Gauri Shankar Mandir vandalism, which is a symbol of Indian heritage. And this hateful act of vandalism is condemnable. At least 3 similar incidents occurred last year in Canada. 2 people were injured, many were detained when brawls broke out between pro-Khalistani and pro-India supporters in Melbourne. The issue that separatist have overshadowed is Indo-Canadian relationship and the sovereignty of the relationship. India has rightly called on Trudeau government to ban a planned Khalistani referendum. As a matter of fact, in 2021 March, I had written very clearly that India should downgrade its diplomatic relations as a protest. Any country where the Prime Minister condemns India, and at that time the Prime Minister had condemned, India indirectly, obliquely by supporting the farmers' agitation, that was a direct interference in India's internal affairs. The government should have downgraded, and I can tell you that had Mrs. Gandhi been there, she would have done it. I don't know why Modi didn't do it. He is equally strong. As a matter of fact, the politically motivated exercises that take place in a friendly country are absolutely unacceptable. So, what can India do? One thing it can do is to ban all the pro-Khalistanis from visiting India. A. B. If they are NRIs having Indian passport or OCIs, they should be cancelled straight away. And if the Prime Minister or any other minister makes a statement which is in fact indirect encouragement, India should downgrade its diplomatic relations. Whether it's India or Melbourne, that's a matter. Canada or it's Melbourne. Now coming to the divide. As I said, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you remember Merchant of Venice, where Shylock says, if you tickle us, do we not love? If you prick us, do we not bleed? That means every person would be hurt, and Hindu phobia is on the increase. Let's not deny it. Now look at the reality. Prime Minister Trudeau appoints a special representative to counter Islamophobia. Good. What about Hindu phobia? Why hasn't the Prime Minister done anything as yet, may I ask? And why hasn't India sent a parliamentary mission, fact-finding mission, to talk to the leaders, Hindu leaders, Indian leaders, harmony? Now, again, I like to stress that this is at the surface. If you have a real, honest opinion, 95% of the Sikhs have no interest in Khalistan. They have no interest in separation. It's only 5%, a very small but very vocal minority, who are wanting it. It has a long history, the separation. It started way back with Swami Dayanand condemning or criticizing Guru Nanak. And then the opposition started, and the Britishers promoted it by siding with the Mahants who were placing the Hindu idols in the Gurdwaras, which are not permissible. So the Jato Morcha took place. And that was supported by majority of the Hindus. As a matter of fact, even Jawaharlal Nehru had gone and participated in that. After partition, there was a demand for Punjabi-speaking state, and government acceded to this demand, which it should not have. As a matter of fact, I had recommended at that time that government should make a Maha-Punjab, combining Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana and Himachal. That way we would have solved two problems, the Kashmir problem and the Punjab problem, because both majorities would have become minority. And then if you have one province, you can't have differential treatment with one religion or the two religions. That would have been ideal. But then there have been stupid people everywhere. There was a Mahashaya Christian in Ludhiana who was mouthing poison all the time. And there were Sikh leaders who were mouthing poison. Both were guilty. In 1982, when DIG police at Wal was shot dead at the entrance of Golden Temple, I had recommended army action. If the army action had been taken at that time, paramilitary forces could have been sent. At that time, the terrorists were not that strong as they were in 1984. And the reaction would have been much less. That was a failure of the government. But now, even now, if you look at the religion, Sikhism, according to Khalistan, is a grown-up religion. It's an independent religion. It is. But then you cannot forget, as I was saying the other day, that the roots are in Hindu culture. If you look at Guru Granth, thousands of times the word Ram, Krishna, Gopal, Hari are used. Lakshmi, Bhagavati, even the prayer says, Pratham Bhagavati Simarke. First you worship Durga, Bhagavati, whatever you want to call it. So, every religion takes birth from another religion. Christianity came from the Jewish. But does it mean that Christianity is not an independent religion? It is. But they need to fight on that basis. They are like flowers. You graft a flower and then both become a part of the bouquet, the garden. And that's what it was meant to be. Gurus never wanted it to be separate. As a matter of fact, if you know, till Guru Gobind Singh started the Amrit movement, all Gurus are the same name as the Hindus. And even now, if you look at it, Har Krishna Surjit, a communist, his name is Hari Krishna. So it's a Hindu name. That way, celebrating Lord Krishna and Hari. And he's a communist. So, saying that they are separate is not. For example, my own brother-in-laws are Hindus, I may say. My real paternal uncle, elder one, was a Hindu. So what? And there was a time when the first son of every Hindu family used to be made a Sikh. If you go to Golden Temple, you will find there are more Hindus going to the Golden Temple than the Sikhs are going. Go to Bangla Sahib, the same thing. More Hindus you would find there. And Hindus worship Guru Nanak with the same veneration, with the same regard, with the same respect. So this propaganda that they are separate is wrong. Yes, as I said the other day, a child is born from the parents, he grows up, becomes an adult, becomes independent. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't remain the child of the parents. Sikhism is a child of Hindu culture. Let's not deny. It has become mature, it has become independent, but still you cannot cut the connecting links, which is culture, which is heritage. And that is what is most important. Unfortunately, we are not doing it. Now my question is to the authorities. Why cannot these people who are promoting the divide, whether they're Hindus or Muslims, immaterial? There are some Hindus also who are absolutely lunatically behaving as lunatically as the Sikh terrorists. So let's declare them terrorists. Let's impound their passports. Let's quarantine them. And then the media should wake up to the honesty. Media is providing oxygen to these people. Second, if a hijabi woman can be appointed to stem the Islamophobia, why cannot we appoint a Hindu theologian to counter Hindu phobia? Third, why doesn't the government of India take action in withdrawing the nationality or cancelling their passports and OCA cards, banning them from entering India? And if any government, whether it's Australian, British or Canadian, downgrade the diplomatic relations as a mark of protest. And Canada is not difficult. You purchase $2 billion worth of lentils from Canada every day. If you don't purchase them, you can see how much cry and hue and cry there would be. Okay, the government will come to its senses. Because when the Canadian farmer is hurt, the government is going to protect them. So it is a concerted action. At one time you need to take an action at the local level, where the peace committees can be there. They can talk to each other. They can take action. Police should be proactive and not sit on the sidelines. The politicians, the political leaders should be honest and dedicated to conserve peace, which they are, most of them. Action should be taken at administrative level, at political level, at social level. Otherwise, this fissure, this divide, which is only at the surface, will percolate down. In 1984, when Blue Star took place, there was a percolation, there was a divide, and that resulted in the riots or the Sikh killing in November 84, after Mrs. Gandhi was killed. I only hope and wish that the same repeat is not there, because if Hindu temples are vandalized here, there will be a reaction in India. The umbilical cords of the Hindus here and the Sikhs here are still not severed with the motherland, the native country. And that is what is worrying. At present, it is just on the surface, but it is there. Now, whether this fissure is allowed to become an abyss or not depends on the authorities and the people, the leaders, the social leaders, the political leaders, the community leaders, and the authorities, the governments. Let the false sense of freedom of speech and freedom of expression not be an excuse for promoting hate, divide, and insult to another religion. That's not possible. Thank you.